into the first son's overseas business dealings. Now, according to the records obtained by Bank of America, an associate of Hunter's received a $3 million wire from a Chinese energy company in March 2017, something most of us have probably had happened to all of us. That's right, by the way, after then Vice President Biden left office. That associate, Rob Walker, then divvied up that $3 million among several Biden family members, including one unnamed family members who we hope to get to very soon. So far, U.S. banks have flagged more than 150 suspicious activity reports from both Hunter and President Biden's brother, James Biden, that included large amounts of money that were flagged for further review. According to a 2020 Senate report on Hunter Biden, these suspicious activity reports, or SARs as they're often called, contained evidence of potentially criminal activities, such as money laundering and fraud, although there is no evidence of this occurring at the time of that report. All right, for more on this, let's bring in our next guest, who says all of this is just the beginning. Joining us now is House Oversight Committee Chairman, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Chairman, good to see you again. Let me ask you, a lot of this is unseemly, right? Shady. Where's the line between shady and illegal and unethical?
Well, that's a great question. It sure looks unethical at the very least, and it is shady. You know, what the law is very unclear. That's why at the end of our investigations, at the very least, we're going to have a legislative fix to this to make sure that this never happens again and that family members can't profit from our adversaries, because what happens when family members do profit from our adversaries, it influences the president or influences high-level cabinet officials, and we can't have that. We can't have China coming in, buying off our politicians in Washington. So this investigation is very important, and what we found is a direct link in one wire from China to essentially a pass-through account. Then it was filtered to 3 different Biden family members, one of whom had never been mentioned before in any of these Biden family business schemes. And Sean, this is just the beginning. We have about 12 more accounts that we plan on obtaining and going through that financial information, because we have credible information that would lead us to believe that there are at least 12 more transactions from China and Russia that are very suspicious.
Okay, so this unnamed Biden family member, this is new information to you, obviously, but you haven't been willing to share the name. Why not?
Well, because we're going to look at some bank records with this person, too, because what we've been told from several whistleblowers who are former Hunter Biden business associates, if you want to call it, they said that there were ways they were getting money to Joe Biden. There were ways that they were paying for things for Joe Biden. That's a very serious accusation. And one of the ways was they were sprinkling it through other family members. They were paying for living expenses on credit card bills and certain LLCs and things like that. So we get one bank account and we go through, and lo and behold, we find a new Biden family member that really has no business whatsoever receiving any money from China. I don't think any of them do, but this one really doesn't. They're going to have a hard time trying to explain this one. And why were they receiving that money? I mean, what did China get in return for the money that they were sending Hunter Biden? Because if you listen to the news accounts, they say, well, it was because of Chinese energy company. Well, what was the energy company doing? Because the money that I've seen from this one transaction went into the Biden family's back pocket. It didn't go into a business acquisition or anything like that. It just looks like it's a payoff for something the Bidens did.
Right. Okay. So I got 2 questions as a follow-up on that. Number one, is there any disclosure form, either income-wise, election-wise, that any of this would have been reported on or should have been reported on? Number 2, to your point about a payoff, if he's on his way out the door as vice president, is the payoff because they thought he would be president? I mean, why would you pay off a guy who's leaving office?
That's a great question, because honestly, the odds of him ever becoming president at that point in time at his age were slim to none. But, I think once they saw, they assumed Hillary Clinton would win and their political career would be over. Then when Trump won, they saw an opening. But at any rate, if you look at emails and text messages in the laptop, Hunter's, demanding payment from people from China because of the stuff that they had done for him. So there's all sorts of evidence in text messages and emails from the president's son that they had been receiving things of value while Joe Biden was vice president. And, whether or not they thought Joe Biden would soon be president in the next administration, we don't know that, but we're going to try to find that out. But at any rate, the amount of money that the Bidens received for virtually nothing that we can tell, they don't have a business. That's the thing. There is no business. They don't manufacture anything. They don't sell anything. You asked about disclosure forms. It looks to me like they were serving essentially as lobbyists. And if you're lobbying a foreign country, that's called a foreign agent. There are a lot of forms you have to fill out. And if you don't, if you're essentially serving as a foreign agent and you're not registered, you can ask Michael Flynn what happens to you with that. That's a very serious crime. So I think that, there's a lot of problems here for the Bidens. And one thing that we haven't heard from the Bidens is an explanation for what they did to receive this money from China. And remember, again, this is just one set of bank records. I have many, many more to go.
We're out of time, but what is it going to take to figure out why they received that money? What is the next step there? Only about 10 seconds left. We're
going to trace all the money, and we have a pretty good idea where the sources are, where they came from the Bidens to the pass-through accounts to China. And we want to know then, when we get all this money, what did you do to receive this money? Why did you receive this massive amount of money from our adversaries around the world?
All right.
Okay. Congressman James Comer, appreciate it. Look forward. This is going to give us a lot more material. So this gives you a lot more reason to come back on the show now. So I appreciate you being here tonight. We got a lot more bank records to go through, don't we?
Yeah, we're just beginning, Sean.